The desert wind carried the smell of dust and gun oil through the streets of Silver Ridge. Evening sunlight slanted across the wooden storefronts, bathing the town in the kind of gold that hides 1,000 sins. Evelyn Hart watched it all from the balcony of the Marshal's office, her father's badge glinting below like a mirror of authority and burden. Marshal Thomas Hart was a kind of man legends grew from, hard, fair, and unbending. His word was law in a town that had once thrived on chaos. But even legends cast long shadows, and Evelyn had lived her whole life in his. To everyone, she was the Marshal's daughter, raised on justice and Sunday prayers. But behind her calm eyes burned a memory she could never quite tame. The night she'd been 16, when a boy named Luke Callahan had saved her life. She remembered it as clearly as yesterday. The stagecoach ambush on the canyon road, gunfire splitting the dark, and a young outlaw turning on his own gang to protect her. Blood, smoke, and the sound of his voice, "Stay low, Eve." He'd carried her to safety, vanished into the night, and left her with nothing but a half-burned handkerchief and a name. Years passed, but his memory never did. Now, 10 years later, the town whispered that the Black Spur Gang had returned, and leading them was a man who rode under the name Luke Callahan. When Evelyn heard it, something inside her cracked. The same boy who'd saved her had become the outlaw her father swore to hang. At sunset, she walked down Main Street, boots stirring little ghosts of dust. The air was thick with tension. Saloon doors creaked, shutters closed. Then she saw him. He stood across the street, tall and lean, coat dark with trail dust. Time had carved strength into his jaw, sorrow into his eyes. Luke Callahan. Their gazes locked, a heartbeat between past and present. Neither spoke. The silence between them said everything words couldn't. Then the church bell rang. 3 sharp tolls. The Marshal's signal. Trouble was near. Luke tipped his hat once, almost an apology, and disappeared down the alley. Evelyn stood frozen as the sound of horses and gun belts filled the street. The law was on the move, and she knew deep down this wasn't just another chase. It was destiny coming full circle. The night wind swept cold through Silver Ridge. Evelyn couldn't sleep. Luke's face haunted her, the way his eyes had softened when they met hers. Against reason, against fear, she saddled her father's bay mare and rode out toward the old barn by the creek, the same place she'd once hidden from the world. The moon hung low, silver and watchful. Inside the barn, a shadow moved. "Didn't think you'd come," a voice said from the dark. She flinched, then breathed. "You knew I would." Luke stepped forward, his revolver holstered, hands open. "You shouldn't be here, Eve, if your pa finds out." "My father's been hunting you for weeks," she cut in. "Tell me why, Luke. Tell me you didn't come what they say." He exhaled, shoulders heavy. "I didn't lead the Black Spur Gang. I came back to destroy them. They killed my brother, Eve. I swore I'd end them all." She wanted to believe him, needed to, but truth in this land came with a price. "Then why come here?" she asked. "You knew he'd be waiting." "I came for justice," Luke said, voice low. "And maybe for something else I never forgot." Her breath caught. For a long moment, neither moved. The only sound was the river beyond the barn and the pounding of her heart. Then, softly, she said, "You should leave before he finds you." Luke smiled, a small, weary smile. Always the Marshal's daughter. "And you," she whispered, stepping closer, "always the outlaw I shouldn't care about." He reached for her hand, rough, callous, real. "You shouldn't, but you do." Their lips met, a stolen kiss under the outlaw moon. Tender, dangerous, desperate. The kind of kiss that could get them both killed. Then a gunshot shattered the night. Luke drew his revolver in one smooth motion. "They found me," he hissed. "Who?" "Your father's men." Without thinking, she grabbed his arm. "This way." They ran to the back door, mounting his horse. Bullets sliced through the air. The mare bolted, hooves thundering toward the canyon. Behind them, torches flickered, the law chasing love through the dark. By dawn, they hid in a dry ravine, breathless. Evelyn pressed her forehead against his chest. "You'll hang for this, Luke." He brushed her hair back gently. Maybe, but if I die tonight, I'll die knowing you still cared. The sun rose blood-red over the desert. Dust curled in the wind, carrying the sound of hoofbeats. Marshal Hart and his deputies rode out, their rifles glinting, eyes set on vengeance. Luke and Evelyn took refuge in an old mining shack, the air inside heavy with dust and silence. Luke's shoulder bled from the chase. Evelyn tore a strip from her dress to bind it. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from the closeness she denied herself for years. "You shouldn't have followed me," he murmured. "And leave you to die alone," she shot back. "I've done enough of that." He looked at her then, really looked. "Your father won't stop. He's made me the devil in his story." She hesitated. "He's a good man." "Maybe once," Luke said, reaching into his coat. He pulled out an old, tarnished badge. "My brother wore this. He was law, too, till your father's men left him for dead. Said he turned traitor to the badge. He didn't. He tried to expose the Marshal's deal with the gang." Evelyn's heart cracked open. "That's a lie." Luke handed her a letter, stained and faded. Her father's signature stared back at her. A deal made years ago, in blood and silence. The walls around her faith came crashing down. Outside, gunfire exploded. The Marshal's men had found them. Luke grabbed his revolver, but Evelyn pushed him down. "No more killing." Her father's voice boomed through the canyon. "Evelyn Hart, step away from that outlaw." She stepped into the doorway, trembling. "He's innocent, Father. You're the one who needs to answer." The Marshal raised his rifle, face carved from stone. "You don't know what you're saying, girl." Luke stumbled forward, hands raised. "She's telling the truth. You made a deal, Marshal, and it cost my brother his life." "Enough." The shot rang out. Luke fell. Evelyn screamed. Dust swirled around the shack like a shroud. Luke's body hit the ground hard, but when Evelyn knelt beside him, he was still breathing, blood staining her palms. She looked up, eyes burning. "You'll kill him over your pride, won't you?" The Marshal hesitated, torn between duty and a lifetime of lies. His hands trembled. "He's an outlaw, Eve." "No," she said, voice breaking. "He's a man who showed me what justice really means." The silence that followed was unbearable. Then an old deputy spoke quietly. "Marshal, maybe it's time you listen." Luke, weak but steady, told everything about his brother's death, the letter, the gang's betrayal. Every word peeled away the layers of the Marshal's legend until only a guilty man remained. Finally, the Marshal lowered his gun. "God forgive me." He dropped his badge into the dust. They carried Luke back to town. The doctor worked through the night, while Evelyn refused to leave his side. When Luke opened his eyes at dawn, she smiled through her tears. "You came back from the dead again, Callahan." He managed a crooked grin. "Guess I ain't done riding yet." Days later, the Marshal stood on the porch, older somehow, hollowed out. "I'm leaving Silver Ridge," he told his daughter softly. "This town needs a new law, one that doesn't bleed for pride." Evelyn nodded, then turned to Luke. "So where do we go?" He looked east, where the horizon shimmered gold. "Wherever the trail takes us." She took his hand, and together they rode out of Silver Ridge. Two souls bound by love and sin and the dust of redemption. Behind them, the wind whispered through the empty streets, carrying the echo of the Marshal's last words. "Take care of her, outlaw." And as the morning sun rose over the desert, Evelyn leaned close and whispered, "I could never forget you, Luke Callahan, not even if I tried." The trail stretched endless before them, wide, open, and free.